Hello there, welcome to another OET Speaking lesson, and today we're going to be looking at asking closed questions. We're going to be doing a bit of grammar practice and also some intonation work. So if you are studying for your OET and you've been practicing your role plays, you'll know that you start with open questions and then you move on to closed questions. And of course, that's the way that the consultation should progress. And we're going to be focusing on those closed questions mainly today. For those of you who don't know me, hello, my name's Sona. For those of you who are returning, thank you so much for coming back. I'm your online OET tutor with Bose Learning, and I'm a premium preparation provider. I'm so happy you've decided to come and upgrade your OET with us today. And these sets of questions, these closed questions, are going to be centred around the COVID-19 vaccine. For those of you who've been following my journey, you'll know that a little while ago I signed up to be a COVID vaccinator. I did all my online training, and then I discovered that I wasn't needed because actually they had plenty of vaccinators and I wasn't needed at all. And then recently, with the new round of boosters, they were actually recruiting for volunteers again. So I signed up again, this time through the lovely St. John's. I did all my training again, because of course I'd forgotten everything. And then the other day, on Saturday, I had my first actual physical vaccination shift. That's me with my lovely colleagues. I had a great team who were really supportive with me. The clinical director was fantastic, and my colleague as well was so nice in helping me. And I did some observations, and then I actually vaccinated some people myself. And it all went quite smoothly, touch wood, so it wasn't too bad at all. But what I noticed when we were doing it is that we actually had a whole list of questions, pre-vaccination questions that we had to ask our patients. These were to make sure that they were eligible for the vaccine and that the vaccine could be indicated for them. They then, of course, got their prescription from the clinical lead. Even though these questions were already asked before the prescription was ordered, we had to go through them again just to double check. And we're going to be looking at those questions today. There are 9 in total. And you are going to be actually asking these questions. You're going to formulate the grammar behind them. You're just going to get the prompts as you would do in the OET roleplay task card. So, as I say, 9 questions or 9 sets of questions for you today. Here's the first one. I'm going to give you the prompts as they would in the OET roleplay card. Then you're going to have a think, what could you actually ask? And then we'll go through possible ones as well as doing some intonation practice. Okay, so here's the first one. Here are the prompts. You can see them here. You could ask something like this. Which dose is this for you? For me, for most of my patients that came in on Saturday, it was their 4th dose, so it was their booster, it was the 4th one. A lot of them were in their 70s, 80s, even 90s as well. And I had to ask them, which dose is this for you? And how were you last time? So quite an open question here actually about the reactions. Did they have a reaction the last time? Okay, let's go through intonation. So I'd like you to listen and then read with me. Okay, which dose is this for you? Which dose is this for you? And how were you last time? How were you last time? And then, of course, they can say if they had a bad reaction or if it was just, mild flu-like symptoms, as was the case for most people. We then had to move on to the next prompt, which is this one. So what question could you ask here? What bit of grammar would you use? You, of course, would use the present continuous because you're talking about right now. How are you feeling today? Do you have a temperature at all? And do you have a sore throat? Pronunciation here, sore throat. Okay, let's go through it all then. How are you feeling today? How are you feeling today? Do you have a temperature at all? Do you have a temperature at all? And do you have a sore throat? And do you have a sore throat? Most of them all said no, they were all feeling fine. If they were feeling unwell, then we wouldn't recommend that they had the vaccine, or I would have checked with a clinical lead. Okay, next question. What could you ask? And have you tested positive for COVID within the last month? So I've changed 28 days to month. Normally, if they say yes, I would have asked them when, and then we would have checked the dates to see if it was compatible. So, intonation then. And have you tested positive for COVID within the last month? And have you tested positive for COVID within the last month? Why have I used present perfect here? Because it's something connected to now. I'm asking about something that happened in the past, but it's relevant today. It's relevant now. So I use the present perfect. And prompt number 4, you could ask something like these questions. Don't forget, in the OET, it's a good idea to structure your questioning because that's one of the assessment criteria that you'll be marked on. So, moving on to a couple more questions about allergies. So, before you ask, just signpost that that's what you're doing. You said you were okay the last time, is that right? So, you're just checking, you're confirming again, that's one of the criteria that you'll be assessed on in the OET. And have you ever had a severe allergic reaction to anything at all? Not just COVID vaccines, but anything. Okay, intonation and pronunciation then. Moving on to a couple more questions about allergies. Moving on to a couple more questions about allergies. You said you were okay the last time, is that right? You said you were okay the last time, is that right? And have you ever had a severe allergic reaction to anything at all? And have you ever had a severe allergic reaction to anything at all? And then we had to ask about the EpiPen. Do you carry an EpiPen? And most people actually didn't know what it was, so I would then explain. That's an injection you would carry if you suffer from severe allergic reactions. Okay, pronunciation. Do you carry an EpiPen? Do you carry an EpiPen? That's an injection you would carry with you if you suffer from severe allergic reactions. That's an injection you would carry with you if you suffer from severe allergic reactions. Then we had a couple more questions about bleeding disorders. And it says on your notes here you don't have a bleeding disorder. Is that right? So sometimes on your OET roleplay card it will give you the background information, but you just want confirmation. In our case it was already on their notes, but we had to check again, and you would mention it. So, pronunciation, and it says on your notes here you don't have a bleeding disorder. Is that right? So the intonation here goes up. And it says on your notes here you don't have a bleeding disorder. Is that right? Blood thinning medication next. Okay, just a few more questions now. So again, you're asking a lot of questions. The patient, of course, just wants their injection and to get out of there. So you just have to reassure them that just a couple more questions. And are you taking any blood thinning medication like warfarin? Okay, pronunciation and intonation. Okay, just a few more questions now. And are you taking any blood thinning medication like warfarin? Okay, just a couple more questions, or just a few more questions now. Are you taking any blood thinning medication like warfarin? And then this is a great question. We had to ask if they were pregnant, breastfeeding, or had any pregnancy plans. It's a great question because of course, half the people coming through were men, we still asked them because it gave them a laugh. It made them feel a little bit more comfortable, maybe in an otherwise tense situation. Also, some people were in their 70s, and again, we still asked them because it brought a giggle to their faces. And of course, just, sometimes this is quite a sensitive issue. Maybe we have some people with religious beliefs who maybe find this quite a sensitive question. So you can be quite sensitive even though you're asking. Now we have to ask, are you pregnant? Are you currently breastfeeding? Do you have any plans to become pregnant in the next couple of months? So signpost that you're going to ask something sensitive or potentially sensitive, and then carry on and ask your questions. Okay, intonation then. Now we have to ask, are you pregnant? Are you currently breastfeeding? Do you have any plans to become pregnant in the next couple of months? Now we have to ask, are you pregnant? Are you currently breastfeeding? Do you have any plans to become pregnant in the next couple of months? And everyone was like, oh no, it's a miracle, I'm in my 70s, or I'm a man. And it was quite jolly, as I say. Okay, and then the last question we had was this one. And finally, which arm are we doing today? So doing, they understood, we're talking about giving the injection. And sometimes they said, well, any arm, it doesn't really matter. But, it's a good idea to check which hand do you use the most, which is your dominant hand. And we'll use the other one because the arm we give you the injection in might be a bit sore afterwards. So, last bit of intonation and pronunciation practice. And finally, which arm are we doing today? Which hand do you use the most? We'll use the other one because the arm we give you the injection in might be a bit sore afterwards. So we have here injection in, might be a bit sore afterwards. Can you hear that connection? Injection in, sore afterwards. Okay, try again. And finally, which arm are we doing today? Which hand do you use the most? We'll use the other one because the arm we give you the injection in might be a bit sore afterwards. And that was the end of my checklist that I ran through. And of course, then we actually had to roll up their sleeve or check and get them to do that and then give the injection. And as I say, I think I did about 15 or 20 in the end after observing. So it was quite an experience. It was quite a privilege, really. And yeah, I'm going to volunteer again. So if you're in London, come along. If you're due your booster, I'll be happy to provide that for you if you are due. All right then. Well, if you like this, I'd be so happy if you could help me grow this channel. Just press that like button, subscribe, and send it to a friend or a colleague that you think would also enjoy it for their OET practice. If you do want more information about my on-demand courses where you can study for your OET in your own time, then take a look at the information box below. I'll put in some discount codes for you. And finally, take a look at some of my other videos. I've got over 150, so there's plenty for you to choose from. And if you do want a free newsletter for a regular dose of all things OET, the sign up link is below. Thanks again for watching and see you next time. Take care. Bye bye.